Hey everybody, my name is Ahmed Aldoori, and I recently did a couple videos showcasing the Colour Constructor. So it's basically a program that helps you understand color better, especially if you're an artist, if you want to come up with cool color palettes. And today I'm here with Murry, Lancashire, the creator of the program. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, g'day guys. So I'm an illustrator as like everyone else. I've worked in the games industry for about 5 years now, 3 of which I was at a studio called Half Brick Studios, and I worked on a bunch of games like Jetpack Joyride and Monster Dash and things like that, and a few years of freelance and that sort of stuff. And I taught myself coding in the last few years, and I decided to finally try my hand at making a tool which I've had on the back of my mind for quite a while. So yeah, I came out with Colour Constructor as an idea, which I guess like where this program's come from is that I've kind of been frustrated with the state of teaching colour in the last few years, when I've been trying to find out things and haven't been able to find the answers, and a lot of the things that I got from tutorials just didn't answer them, and so instead I kind of turned to math and to answer a lot of these questions. However, like even though I'm solving problems in my own illustrations here, I wasn't able to really teach anyone else about this sort of stuff because artists they're very allergic to math, as I've found. And so this is kind of my reaction to that, to try and make something as a teaching tool kind of turned into something more than that.
Yeah, and I think we had a chat before, and you came up with a lot of really good things. And like often when we, as artists, pick up a bunch of reference, we'll get reference photos and stuff, and they're usually overexposed and all the colors are not usable. So you mentioned that how your program can kind of help with that.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think with photos, you're dealing with so many different layered effects. Like things are going to have bad exposure. Everything's going to have curves already applied to it. Everything's going to have a ton of things applied to it. And it's very difficult to see what's actually going on there. For example, a lot of images will have a specular over the top of all your local color, and so it's very hard to see the true color of things. And that can be very misleading. And so, like, for example, beginners tend to have a lot of trouble working out what is the difference between a specular and what is the difference between the local color of something. Yeah. And so this really tries to go out of the way there to separate things out, and you can actually understand what each of the elements are. Mm-hmm. And you can play with them all interactively so that you can actually see what happens at each point.
Absolutely, because I mean, I've seen a lot of artwork that has you'll have a really interesting scene, but all the content in it is pretty much the same color. There's like a big wash of it's pretty much gray content with one source light. But with this, you kind of establish local colors, and it's a very great advantage. And so, like, who can use this? You know, we have like artists, VFX people, for movies, video games, and just like I think the other interesting thing is that this program you kind of wanted to come up with it because you have a colorblindness.
Yeah, that's right.
So for other people colorblind, maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I found out I was colorblind really early in my career, and I guess me becoming an artist, there was a lot of it was, I guess, kind of this overcoming that, and every step along the way, it's trying to find ways to overcome that. Like I remember when back in 2007, I went to Murry, which was the big, massive black workshop in New Zealand, and I got a bunch of advice from some people where it was really helpful, but it wasn't really the answers I needed. Sure. And then I really hit a breakthrough when I read a tutorial about a year after that, which was made by a guy called Lin Ran, which is a Chinese artist, and somebody translated it. And he was presenting this crazy method of painting using nothing but the RGB sliders. So not touching HSV, not touching the color picker, but literally using the RGB sliders for everything. And I started using that, and suddenly everything clicked, and I could start working on my colorblindness. And because I could see when something was more green than red, whereas I can't actually see it, but I could see it on the sliders, and I could work around it.
Because the numbers are there.
Exactly. Right. And it's like, it's not even the numbers, it's more just which one is bigger. And
yeah. Yeah, and I think this is a really cool program. And I see it going really far. By the way, also congratulations on how successful it already is. I think it's pretty
Yeah,
inspiring to see that happen.
I don't think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think anyone could have predicted like it just being picked up like so quickly, especially when it's in such an early state. But
Right.
they've got big plans for it.
And I think that goes to show if anything you create, whether it's a product or an image, if it has value, people will find it. It'll find its way to people that want to use it. Right.
I keep on having this scary thought that people actually don't like it and they haven't worked out it's bad yet.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
And it's like I'll wake up tomorrow and I have like 500 angry emails. that hasn't happened yet, so it's all good.
Yeah, not yet. There's a lot of complex color theory that went into this, and you kind of interpreted it into mathematics, and it's useful now for those that might not understand color theory the way you do. So I think if you want to share your screen.
Mm-hmm.
Message me and maybe kind of just play around with the program from the creator's perspective, so that it's a more direct explanation of things. And go if you want to go for it.
Well, I guess the best thing to really tell people about first off is it might be a bit confusing to people what this is straight away, and that's because you've got things like Cooler and you've got different programs which make swatches. But there's a major difference in what this program does to that, and that's that this also generates values, and that's a very important fact. So what I'll actually start off doing is I'll make a few objects, and we'll show what happens with values.
For those who don't know what values are, that's dark and light.
Yeah. So one thing which is important about an illustration is that your values are the most important thing. It's what makes an image hold together. And it's the first thing which you try and learn when you're doing illustration. And so having a program which can show you, the mathematical values, and that's the start. And then we'll go into talking about how that plays into color. But the most important thing of values is you notice that when you have a value and you have an ambient light, so your ambient light is being all the light bouncing around the scene and lighting up your shadows. So if you didn't have an ambient light, you'd have black. And so you can see that, and I can just drop that out and say, okay, that's what it looks like about an ambient light, and that's just the direct light. As we bring that up, our shadows get lighter. And the interesting thing is that for every value, local value. So when I say local value, I mean the actual color of something or the actual value of something. Whereas when I'm talking about lit values, I'm talking about after the lighting's been applied. So when you have a value which is a lighter color and you have a higher ambient, your shadow color will actually be brighter than the highest color or the highest value of a darker local, if that makes sense.
And it has a mathematical proportion per value, right?
Yeah, that's a very important point. It's this sort of thing that you cannot, once you have a complex enough image with enough values in it, you can't fix it using levels or curves or anything. It's almost as if it's baked in. And when you're playing with curves, you're just compressing things, but the actual proportions are exactly the same. And you can try. There you go.
I would say when you do use curves or levels, what happens is things get overexposed, right?
They can do. Depends on how you use it.
Right.
I'd say curves can be used in many ways. They can be used to compress value ranges or exaggerate things. So I don't know if you can't really say it overexposes it all the time.
Right.
But you can try a little experiment. If you open up any photo and you just play with curves, one thing you'll notice is that you cannot make it look like an illustration by playing with curves unless you start to really destroy things. And so it's this intrinsic thing in an image that you can't get rid of. And so that's probably the first thing about this. And when we start adding color, it's going to start making a bit more sense.
Yeah, let's see some color. Right on.
So I'm going to just make a bit of a red light, and I'll bring that up. And we can actually start making our local color. So this actual square here, that's our local color. And these swatches are the resulting. So the lit one is the one here, and the bottom one is the one in the shadow. And there's multiple hues.
Gray, because of the yellow light, it's going to look yellow.
Exactly. And so as I bring up this local color to a blue or something, it starts to read as blue within that lighting context.
Hmm.
And so let's make a something which is red. Let's make something which is green. More green than that. I can't actually see if that's green or not. I just have to go with that.
Colorblind.
Now might make a bit more of a bluey green. And so you can start to see what it looks like in the lighting conditions, and you can start to play with it. So if I change the hue of my light, you can see what actually happens.
Mm.
And we can start to change the ambient as well. So let's bump up the blue in the ambient, and you start to get like a blue shadow.
Right.
And these are the sort of things that you can very quickly play around with. And what you'll very quickly notice is that when you change the hue of a light, the brightness of things actually change. And for each of these local colors, it's going to be a different proportion depending on that. And this is all defined by RGB math, and you'll find that this works for everything.
Right.
And just for an example, like I can just load a file here. Wait, is this the right one? Yep. Oh, I didn't save this one, but actually, this will be interesting. So I grabbed a Cron Frenzy illustration because what he does a lot of times is he always works from a photo for a lot of times. So he stylizes something, but he does something really interesting because he always grabs a photo and he uses the colors from that and works in his style. And the thing is, he can't really move away from that. And so what this allows you to do is that you can emulate this sort of lighting condition, and you can make it up yourself, and you don't have to work from a photo.
Right.
So if I was to make a skin tone, so what he's got here is he's got a skin tone, he's got a purple light, and he's got a bit of a cool ambient. And so let's quickly see if we can try and emulate that. So I need to get a skin tone. I just have no saturation in the light, so I can actually see what's going on properly. I've got to drop down the ambient. And so let's make the light source more purple. And you see what's happening to the specular is it's starting to turn purple.
Right.
Because we have no green in it. Well, not much green in the light, but because there's green in the local color, it still reads as skin. And we can start to boost the actual cools in the ambient, and we can boost up the ambient light. And if I think we need a bit more red there. Mm. And currently I don't have SSS implemented in the program, but eventually I'm going to put in SSS, which will allow more saturation in the mid-range.
So for those who don't know what SSS is...
That's subsurface scattering. So it's an effect that when light goes into an object, which is like putty, like a candle or milk or something like that, you have more... Yeah, so you have more scattering inside of it, and you get different light effects. And I think we'll cover that a bit later, but that's something which we can add later. But yeah, so I can grab this like dark color, and then we can like grab a white, which is like the shirt. Whites never go to full white, so I'd say like 80% would be about what you want to go for. And you see, like just quickly, we can set up a lighting situation, which is very similar to what he's doing here. And let me just copy the lips and put this over here. And I can saturate that and drop that down a bit. And you get your lip color. And you can see how, even though he worked from a photo of this, we can copy the results, and we could have actually painted from this.
Right.
But now you can go, well, what does these same colors look like in a different lighting scenario?
Ah. Tricky.
So you can copy a photo, and then you can go, what does it look like under different lighting conditions? And now you can paint. So you could grab a photo and say, okay, I want to paint this study. Now let's bring it into Colour Constructor, play with the colors, and try painting that same photo with different colors.
That's brilliant. Bravo, man. It's pretty cool.
And so what that means is you can actually start trying to push your understanding from photos and trying to work around it with different perspectives and try and understand color in this much more intuitive way.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I definitely want to dive deeper into this and try it out. Totally cool. Yeah. And I think, I mean, where it's at, I know you said it's a very early stage and it's totally usable. What do you see like coming for like more features and like down the line?
Okay. Yeah, so the next one's, let me just bring up a build actually. So currently, I'm just, the next thing which I'm implementing is exposure. So you can actually expose everything separately. So that'll be just nice to say you want to boost the brightness and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And so let's say you want dark lighting, and it means you're going to have a bit of an easier time actually playing with that. But I'm halfway through implementing a lot of things, so there's not too much to show in here right now.
Okay.
Most of the current stuff that I'm implementing is more export options and so better file handling. So you'll be able to load it onto a USB, and you don't have to worry about losing your save files.
Right on. So some of my friends. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So the next thing which is coming is currently we have more than one preview image. The next thing which is coming is custom preview images, so that anyone can actually make their own. And they're a series of images or black and white masks. We won't cover like how they're going to be made, but you'll be able to share these things with other people. So like people might be able to.
Masks?
Sorry, what?
Do you want to show those black and white?
Yeah, sure thing. Just give me a second. So yeah, these images aren't actually 3D. They're actually a series of black and white masks which are applied with additive. So they work exactly the same way light does. And yeah, so I'll just bring it up and make more sense. So here is a folder full of them. And so they're just literally black and white masks, which are applied on top of each other, and each one is applied with a different tinting according to the actual file name. And so you'll be able to change the file name to change the math of it. And the cool thing there is that there's a second ambient term, which I'm going to rename to a second lighting term. So you can actually make scenarios with dual lighting and that sort of thing if you want to do that. Mm-hmm. And you'll be able to share that with people. And I think that's a really exciting sort of thing. And it means that you're not limited to the masks that I've made. You might be able to get masks from another artist which made something a bit more useful.
Okay.
And another really exciting thing is that you can actually bake in hue transformations. So like you can say this part's going to be a bit more green, this part's going to be a bit more blue just by painting into these masks a bit. I haven't tried it out, but theoretically it should all work. And so you might be able to make a face which has all natural skin tones just from a single skin tone color, which could be really cool.
And then
we haven't tried it.
The light source will show how it looks in different lighting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's very exciting. I need to. But most of the stuff which is coming, to be honest, is a lot of usability options. So, because currently it's very usable, but we need to keep we need to keep perspective on this program. This program isn't anything new in terms of technology. It's new in terms of how easy it is to set up. Because you could do this all in a 3D program, but it's going to take you more than 40 minutes to set up a scene like this, and then you have to go through all tons of menus to do it. This is about providing a streamlined experience which you can't mess up, and you don't need to actually know anything about 3D to actually do. So that's what I think is exciting.
Cool, yeah, and I did have a couple of things that I talked to my friends who also downloaded this and bought it and tried it out, and a couple of things that they're wondering is will there be like a hue cube? If you click the color thing in Photoshop, you get the whole like kind of range of colors.
Yeah, I'm going to add that. That's someone's actually already coded one. I just need to stick it in. So awesome. If that's a wanted feature, I can stick it in the next build.
And a color picker. I know we talked about that, so that you can just color pick from a photo.
Yep. So I'm going to actually bring that in. So you'll be able to load in a photo, and you can just color pick, and you can just put them straight in. Mm-hmm. I'll have to do some things about selections and different things to make it all work, but yeah, that's definitely possible.
I think your screen might have froze.
Did it?
No. Okay, you're good. Never mind.
I'm just not doing anything.
Oh yeah, I thought you were trying to show something, but
No. I'm just talking right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that can come, and honestly, it's still early days. I want the suggestions, and I want to see stuff that people have made and more videos, because the more videos I see of people using it, the more I get an idea of how people use it. Like that video which I made yesterday, That's super exciting for me because I'm a really technical guy. So I approach a painting in a completely different way.
Sure.
So to see someone who's got more of this painterly traditional color theory background using it, it's very, very cool because he's using it in a way which I just did not expect. And that's super exciting. And this is as much a learning experience for me as it is for everyone else, I think.
Yeah, it's been super fun being a part of just trying it out. I'm really glad I got to. Yeah. Is there anything else that we wanted to add?
Well, we can go into a lot more like technical color theory. So right now, I think we just covered how to really use it.
Yeah.
But we can start to go into talking about actually what's going on.
Sure.
And so we might get a bit more complicated here. So I'm going to be writing a few articles talking about this stuff. So you get lost. We'll be talking about it more in the future, hopefully.
Sure. Yeah.
So this stuff actually, it all works off RGB. So there's actually a problem in computer graphics that hue saturation value, it doesn't represent how light works, yet it's how we teach people how to use color.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean by that is, I'd say like hue saturation value is like having a steering wheel which interfaces into color, but you can't really feel how the road's moving and you can't understand how the mechanics work. It's like trying to decipher how the engine works by driving the car. It doesn't really work. Whereas playing with RGB, it's more complicated, but it's like actually getting in there and doing the mechanics while it's running. You can see how it all works, and you can see like all the guts of it and everything working. And so I think the easiest way to explain color is, because in our eyes we have we have three cones: red, green, and blue, and that's really what we're doing on our computer monitors. Because our computer monitors, how they generate color is they don't have a yellow light. They have a red and a green light, and they just shine at the same time at a certain intensity, and you see yellow.
Mm-hmm.
And so our screens can only produce three colors, and that means if you're an alien, our monitors would look really weird. But for us, they look perfect. And we can exploit that because we can only see three wavelengths. And so everything that we do can be broken down to RGB. It can go a lot deeper than this, so I'm going to say this is a simplification, but it's a simplification that makes everything easier. Now, to actually explain a bit more about it is, if you've ever been in Photoshop and you've seen the window called channels, that's actually how an image works. And how an image works is that you have three black and white channels, and they're applied together to make a final image. And if you're doing photography, you can actually do something really cool. You can take three black and white photos, but if you grab a colored filter, so a red one, a green one, and a blue one, and you take three photos of exactly the same thing, you can combine them together into a full color image later. Mm. That's exactly how computer graphics work.
Wow, yeah, I never thought of it that way.
And now the next thing to take away from that is that red, green, and blue, they cannot interact with each other. They are all completely separate. Like they're completely different dimensions. If you're living in red world, you can't talk to green world. You don't even know green world exists. It just runs in parallel.
Right.
And so no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. And so to demonstrate that, if I to make something which is 100% red, and I drop down my ambient, so we get no ambient light, and we have a red light. Now that's full red, and that's like full chroma red. Mm. However, if I start to hue shift, what you're going to notice is that as we lose red, it goes to black. The reason why it goes to black is that for green light, it can't illuminate red.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very important thing, because when you're playing with hue saturation and value, you get confused because you're like, well, green is just next to red, right? They're friends. They can walk into each other's neighbors, and they can go past to give each other high fives, and you end up with weird color blending because you think that they can actually hang out when they can't.
That's hilarious.
And so it's kind of this thing where Colour Constructor works by limiting what you can do. It makes things easier by saying, oh, you can't make everyone hang out in a big party. You instead have to follow these rules. But because you're following the rules, it looks right.
Right, exactly. And it looks right because it also influences a better color harmony. by not letting you put colors that aren't supposed to be there.
Exactly. And the thing which is like really stuck out to me is that everyone doing beta images has been doing super colorful stuff. It's not vibrant. I don't think anyone's worked out how to do realism yet. That's because it's super tempting, because when it works, you can just go in there, make vibrant colors. It doesn't hurt anyone's eyes, and you can get away with it. And that's really cool.
Right.
But it means that you're going to be making things way too saturated. Like if you look around your room, everything's gray except for like one or two things which are like bright colored. That's the human world we live in.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by using this, you'll start to get an idea about, well, what color are things in real life? And you start to get a better idea.
I just looked around my room and realized how true that is.
Yeah. And so like, so I'm going to bring up a few images from beta testers. So like, I actually started making this and I didn't realize what I was making. And then I sent it to this amazing illustrator called Overson. And there's a dude who's worked at Blizzard and he's worked on a lot of things and inspired a lot of people. But I don't think he's too famous in the wider world, but he's kind of influenced a lot of your favorite guys probably. And so I sent him one of the first builds of Colour Constructor. And he sent me this back, and just 2 words in this stuck out to me, and because I wasn't working this full time yet, and it just said game changer. And I'm like, okay, I'm dropping everything and working this full time until I get it out there. Because I saw this, and he was like, everything which I picked from this was from Colour Constructor. And he was just talking about how it held together in a way which he's never had before. And it was this sort of freedom in painting that he's never experienced before. The one on the left is the one of the colors directly from Colour Constructor. And the one on the right was him doing, so he was using hue and saturation afterwards. Yeah. So, but what he was demonstrating there was just how well it holds together when you do saturation boost.
Oh, I get it. Okay. All right.
So, like, if you look at these shadows, like, they're a really nice saturated red, yet that all holds together and looks right. And, like, he used this really colorful sash, which is such a difficult problem to work out what colors, like, and what brightness should that shadow of the sash be. Mm-hmm. And it's totally not what I would have expected, but it looks right. And that's what I've been finding. Like, I've only actually just started painting it for myself because I've been relying on beta testers to do it, and I've just done a few stuff myself, and it's just started. Yeah, it's kind of this cool experience. But I think that's important because I haven't really. I guess like my enthusiasm about this program didn't come from myself; it came from other people's enthusiasm and telling me that we got something big here.
It's a great feedback system, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. So like this is another image which so the girl who actually did the frog image on the main store page, that was painted with Colour Constructor. Yeah. This is the first test she did. So that was like colors directly out of it, and that was like her sketch, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Though she did one other sketch which she basically said, I had trouble, and so like, can you add some extra features? And so I've added them in. I'm not sure how useful that they are yet with the dual ambient, but I want to get to a point where you can make more complicated lighting schemes of this, but it's working out how to do that without making the program too much more complicated. So this one wasn't done using Colour Constructor, but it's something that I'm hoping that we will be able to do. Though she got a frog image, and that she actually made 2 different scenes as far as I understand, and made a scene for the shadows where it's a bit more blue, and made a scene for the light, because you got a warmer ambient in the light and you got a cooler ambient in the shadows, and so you can actually make multiple scenes and it can hold together.
That's how you do it, yeah. Yeah, nice.
So, and that's such a lovely image. It's yeah, she just painted that, and I was like, can I pay you money so we can like this is amazing. And so it's that was really cool to see that. And yeah, of course, Ahmed's image. By the way, I totally thought that were tomatoes.
Yeah, I forgot to paint the undersides of the mushrooms, but let's just say they're tomatoes.
I actually think it's kind of cool because it's like you got this sort of texture there, and it looks like there's water droplets on it, like a tomato ad.
Yeah.
Or like a Subway ad. And it's just like, she's coming in under here. It's like, my God, my crop is massive.
Wow, you just made the so much cooler.
And that's totally what I thought it was when I first saw it. Yeah. And Yeah, this image is so cool.
Let's just say that they are definitely tomatoes now.
That's yep. Just after the
something I did in a day just to try out the program. Yeah, it's cool seeing all the artwork come together and just other people approaching it in slightly different ways, but at the same time, it's so beneficial for each person. Right on.
And that's another great thing which I've noticed is that nobody's been like making homogenous stuff. They've been making stuff which is themselves, but they've just been able to get there quicker, and that's super exciting for me. Because I don't want to make a tool that basically says you need to paint this way and you're limited. I want to make a tool that helps people get the results they want.
Yeah, and I can definitely see this being implemented as a plugin in Photoshop or getting into the pipeline in professional studios just to make things quicker. Congrats, man! This is so cool.
Yeah, thank you very much. And like, there's a lot of potential in going even further than that. So let's say you're making a comic book. One thing which I see is having this as a full color manager, so you can actually have like bunches of objects, and you could save out like an entire character's colors, and then you could say you're coloring the entire comic book, and you could go, okay, these are the things I need in the scene. These are my lighting conditions, and as a colorist, you could just grab those colors, and you don't have to worry about constructing your colors from scratch each time. And you don't have to worry. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about things not reading correctly because you know they're going to read as the correct color. But you don't need to worry about holding back because you can go crazy with these colors. You can go like, I want to have a really crazy lighting scheme, and you can have it hold up. Like you can have like an incredibly yellow lighting scheme with almost like completely blue, and you could do that, and things will still read, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And so hopefully that's going to mean that we have more vibrant images that have strong local colors, because that's a tendency people have, and that's to do a really colored lighting scenario. But that means that they're going to make the image more monochromatic because it's so difficult to get right.
Hey man, yeah, I agree. That's going to be so cool. All right.
So yeah, I think that covers like pretty much most of what I want to talk about today. But yeah.
Right, I feel like we could revisit this over and over again and always have more stuff to add and talk about. Let's see how this project grows and check out, see the artwork that happens from it.
Yeah, I'm super excited, and I have to say thank you to everyone who's bought it already, and thank you. It's been an incredible thing. It's literally been a life-changing week, and I'm really excited moving forward.
Yeah, super happy for you, man. So I guess that wraps it up. For those of you that watched and are interested in checking out the program, it's in the description. It's on Gumroad. You could download it for $7. Is it still $7?
Yeah, it's still $7. Yeah.
Yeah. So give it a shot. Try it out. See how your paintings look from it. And if you want more information, it's all there. And
feel free to email me anything. I'll respond within the hour.
Sure. I'll go ahead and put your email in the description.
Okay, awesome.
All right, cool. And yeah, if you want to hear more about this stuff, go ahead and subscribe and stay tuned. And any last words?
Thank you. I mean, this has been great. And look forward to seeing more paintings.
Right on. All right. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you very much.